It's incredible. I'm a member of a brotherhood that will last with me for the rest of my life. The support that I had when this was an idea up until today is incredible from my brothers and sisters in arms. In some capacity, it's almost like I'm still serving, and it's awesome.
Now, there is a charitable aspect to all this involving the Frame Foundation donating hours in the tunnel to kids. Also, the folks at another veteran-owned business, Strike Force, we know the folks there, Sean Matson, they sponsor the championship where Team Pranavayu, who you saw right there, you see him right there as well, took home the gold for the second year in a row. Those guys were amazing.
That's fantastic. They have just built one of those things on my way home from work.
Right.
I got to get in there.
It's awesome.
That's so great. Cool. And I love the military aspect. And they were the national anthem before they start the championship.
And it was so interesting. I just heard you talking about the national anthem. When that national anthem played, everybody on their feet, everybody had attention. There was no messing around. There was a gentleman who stood. I was up on the second floor. He stood at attention. He didn't move. That's the way it should be, you know?
It is. Good job.
It was fun.
Fly with me.
That wasn't work. That was awesome.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. All right, coming up, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, UK Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, Ari Fleischer, new ambassador to Germany, Rick Grenell, and Dr. Oz. What a show.
Robert Mueller got 2 rebukes back-to-back, and they came from judges.
The judge says, look, I want to know where you got the authority.
For Judge Ellis to push back on this and say, show us the scope memo, the improbable election of Donald Trump is not probable cause to pursue him.
John Kerry has been secretly meeting with both Iranian and European officials to discuss saving the Iran deal.
I think he should be prosecuted under the Logan Act.
In my opinion, what he's doing is inappropriate, and he shouldn't be doing it.
Her nomination will not be derailed by partisan critics. The White House ramping up efforts to confirm Gina Haspel.
Gina Haspel is the one woman I want in that room.
The NFL could make standing for the national anthem a team choice. Is that the right move?
If there were a book like How to Destroy Your Business in 12 Simple Steps, step number 1 would be, watch what the NFL do. I would fire every one of these guys.
Big and Rich playing our show again. And you know what? It's kind of good to know they're probably watching right now. I mean, it's when you choose their
Really?
music.
You think so? What if they had a big concert last night?
They could have.
They're up at 7 a.m.?
I mean, how many people have a stage in their house?
Wait, they have a stage in their house?
Yes.
How would you know that?
Because I was in their house. They
You left that part out.
No, yeah.
Wait, they live together?
No, they don't live together.
You said their house.
No, but I was over at, what do they call it, Richland?
John Rich?
John Rich was launching his own whiskey because we're out of whiskey. So as a country, he's doing the country a favor. And he had, I told you this already, he had a big event in his house. He's got a full stage.
I didn't know it was in his house.
So
Didn't know there was a stage.
But when you name your house, you have a big house.
You know what? Note to Dawn Kilmeade, Brian's wife, if you're watching.
I like a stage.
Today is Brian's birthday, as you know.
Right.
He wants a stage in the
present.
basement.
And I would like an oak bar, like Tom Rich, and a secret room in the back, like
and your own whiskey.
Yeah.
All right. Well, happy birthday, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Happy
Appreciate
birthday,
it.
Brian. We're so glad you were born.
Right, thank you. And right now my children are using the stovetop, but they're trying to make their own whiskey for me. Because we might be able to bottle it and make a lot of money.
Your children.
Yes.
Your underage children.
Yes.
Very good.
He doesn't use the still in the back like
Not
the
anymore,
Duceys.
like MASH.
All right. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about the Robert Mueller investigation. Robert Mueller didn't have a good weekend. Why? Because 2 judges said, hey, what are you doing? First, let's talk about U.S. District Judge Ellis III. He said, hey, Mr. Mueller, where'd you get the authority to indict Paul Manafort on something that went back to 2005? And then there was another U.S. District Judge by the name of Dabney Friedrich who denied a prosecutor request to put off a scheduled arraignment for Wednesday, and that's the case. Remember when Mueller's team indicted about a dozen Russians and 3 different companies for the Russian bot farm? Well, the government figured, well, none of those people are ever going to show up for court, so let's just go ahead and sue them. Well, 3 of them, or rather 2 attorneys representing one of the 3 companies, went before the judge and said, okay, we're going to represent this company, Concord Management. And they go, okay, what do you want? And they said, we want all the evidence they've got. We want to see what they've got. And now Mueller's team's going, well, we can't show them the evidence. That's not how we roll, yo.
And he said, yeah, can you do it? And so they said, we'd like to delay it. And Dabney Frederick said, nope. Go do it.
It's going to
produce
happen
something.
Wednesday.
Yeah, so good luck. Produce what you're supposed to produce. And let's not put black marks over all of it. We'd like to actually read something that's comprehensible.
Yeah, don't redact. Look at this. This is the transcript from Judge Ellis, the original judge that you were talking about. It's the United States of America versus Paul Manafort. They go in, they raid his house, they find out that his tax returns years ago, there were some things that were in there that he didn't disclose, putting money in foreign governments. But this judge, Judge Ellis, says you're just trying to squeeze this guy so that he will tell you something about the president. He says he eviscerates Mueller's team. If you read this, just read the first 10 pages. It's pretty easy reading. And he goes after Manafort, and he's saying, because you're going after Manafort, talking about Mueller, you're trying to force him to sing, you're squeezing him. You can tighten the screws, and they will begin to provide information in what you're really interested in.
It's interesting, too. Tom Barak is maybe the president's chief confidant and great friend. He has been questioned by the Mueller probe. You know who brought in Paul Manafort? Tom Barak. He just said, hey, here's an experienced guy that will work for free. Do you want to take him? And the president said, well, I'm losing these delegates to Ted Cruz, because Cruz, even though I won the primary, he's winning over my delegates. They said Manafort will work for free. He wants to get back to America. Everything kind of dried up over there since the Ukrainian government went anti-Russian. So he's going to look to come over here and reestablish himself. So that casual conversation turned into Manafort, which turned into maybe the bulk of the collusion case, which may not exist, especially if you listen to what his judge says.
So let's go back to the judge that Ainsley was talking about, Jason Chaffetz, who used to be the chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, says, look, the judge is pushing back because Mueller is not unfettered, and where's the probable cause?
The improbable election of Donald Trump is not probable cause to pursue him. The question is, what is it that started this initial probe? And it's become so far and so wide for Judge Ellis to push back on this and say, show us the scope memo. I love the fact that he's pushing back. You don't get unfettered access to go surf anywhere and every place. You pursue the truth, you pursue justice, but you do that through facts and evidence.
And look, I just think that someone has got to put the accelerator on Robert Mueller. He's dragging this out. He's having this tortured investigation. Even if it's thorough, Rod Rosenstein's got to say, we don't have all day, and you don't have limitless money. You've already spent over $9 million, and you hired another prosecutor on Friday who has Democratic leanings.
They're spending $1 million a week on the investigation. There's an item in the Wall Street Journal that says that Robert Mueller is either going to wrap it up pretty quickly, or he's going to have to go dark, because we are now entering that 6 months before the election, and at the Department of Justice, with investigations, it cannot appear that you are influencing an election, which Mr. Comey apparently didn't get that memo. Oh, yeah, he did get that memo. Then never mind. So anyway, the big question is, will he wrap it up in the next month? Or will they go dark until after November?
All right, guys, today is Monday. It's Brian's birthday. This coming Saturday is May 12th. That is the deadline for the president to recertify or to review that Iranian nuclear deal. Well, you have John Kerry, who's no longer serving, not in this administration, is meeting with different leaders around the country, Iranian leaders, European officials, shadow diplomacy, trying to negotiate with our enemies to undermine our president, trying to find a way to continue to be a part of this Iranian nuclear deal, because the president has said he's not sure he's going to continue.
What they did is they were able to use the sanction relief in order to bolster up their activities throughout the region. As you see what they were able to do in Syria, they basically took the country over. They're basically able to finance Hezbollah. They've lined the whole Lebanese-Israeli border with rockets and missiles, and they've invigorated the Sunni nations in building up their defense to counter this new economic power, which is Iran, because of the sanctions relief. What they did do is stop spinning centrifuges, and where there are cameras, so far we haven't seen many people breaching this deal. But for the most part, the Senate didn't approve this deal. The House didn't approve this deal. Therefore, it's not a treaty. It's renewable. May 12th, we'll find out if President Trump is going to renew it.
Well, you remember when he was running for president, it was very clear he thought it was a stink bomb deal. So we've got some sound bites for you. President Trump a couple of days ago, plus a congressman from Texas. He's the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee. He's actually for keeping it. Here's point counterpoint.
We're signing that horrible deal, and they're marching in the streets saying death to America. I said, who signs a deal when they're marching saying death to America?
What happens next if the U.S. pulls out? Secretary Mattis talked about the inspectors that are in there. Does Iran kick those inspectors out so that we lose what visibility we have there? The Europeans are not going to reimpose sanctions, so where does that leave us and Iran? So I'm not necessarily opposed to sticking with this deal forever, but you need to have a clear idea about next steps.
See, that's a big question. What comes next? But Ainsley, to your earlier point, to have the former Secretary of State, John Kerry, running around the world trying to save something while our president, you know, ultimately it is his decision. Some have suggested, isn't he breaking the Logan Act, which is delicious irony given the fact that so many people said members of the Trump transition team doing just that.
We don't care what the Trump administration wants. We don't care what the Americans who voted for him want. We don't care about the deplorables. We're going to go behind America's back, and we're going to do this because we know best.
There might be a third way. And a third way might be, since the president has enjoying better relationship with France than any other president of late, Macron. And if the German Chancellor Merkel also was here pushing for the same thing. Boris Johnson today, the Foreign Minister of Britain, pushing for the same thing. Say, okay, we'll give you 2 more months. And at which time, European leaders, you give us that overlay that's going to eliminate ballistic missiles. Get rid of the sunset. Will allow these inspectors to go away after 10 years. I'll give you 2 months to come up with an overlay for this, and then maybe we can talk. And that might be the third way, because it would show I'm listening to my allies, even though you're dug in. So you're not giving in, you're listening, which I think there's nothing wrong with. That's not bad leadership.
Well, you listen to somebody. Look, the president ran on getting rid of it. Joe Lieberman over the weekend, you know, famous former Democrat, now independent, said, I hope he walks away from it. It would be hard for him not to walk away from it.
Or, to Brian's point, though, you can negotiate what you don't like about the deal, make it favorable for the United States.
Well, that's a whole new deal. So let's make a deal. Let's find out. So anyway, the big day is the 12th.
And Boris Johnson's going to be here in about a little while to lobby for his cause from the British perspective. From the American perspective, Philadelphia style, here's Jillian.
I'm sorry I didn't bake you any cupcakes for your birthday.
You still have time.
Birthday, Brian.
You still have time or to shop.
Okay.
He really wants a bar and a stage at his house.
Yes, if that's okay.
That is up to your wife.
And whiskey.
Good morning to you guys. Let's get caught up on your news that we're following, starting with this Fox News alert. A Florida sheriff's deputy is fighting for his life after being shot in the head. Deputy William Gentry responding to a call about a cat being shot when the suspect pulled the trigger in Lake Placid.
We would just ask that you continue to pray for Deputy Gentry, and hopefully that will give him the strength to pull through this.
The gunman, identified as Joseph Abels, is under arrest. He's a convicted felon with a history of violence towards police. Gentry is a 9-year veteran of the force and serves with his brother, a detective. At least 26 homes are destroyed as lava flows intensify from Hawaii's Kilauea volcano, and it's showing no signs of stopping. Just look at these images. This is brand new video showing molten rock spewing into the air on the Big Island. That hot lava also giving off toxic gas and forcing 1,700 people from their homes. Kilauea is an active volcano, but it hasn't erupted like this since 1955, when it didn't stop for 3 months. Just moments ago, President Trump weighing in on tomorrow's West Virginia Senate primary. The commander-in-chief tweeting, quote, "To the great people of West Virginia, we have together a really great chance to keep making a big difference. Problem is, Don Blankenship, currently running for Senate, can't win the general election in your state. No way." Remember, Alabama. Vote Republican Jenkins or AG Morrissey. Representative Jenkins, excuse me. Blankenship under fire for his federal conviction for conspiring to violate federal mine safety laws and for referring to Senator Mitch McConnell as Cocaine Mitch. The 3 Republican candidates are looking to unseat Democratic Senator Joe Manchin. Let's look at your headlines. Send it back to you.
Thank you very much, Jillian. Before the Fox debate, Jenkins was ahead and since has imploded. And now, according to one of the campaign's internal polling, Mr. Blankenship is ahead by 5, which would be stunning.
President doesn't want him. We'll see the power of President Trump in West Virginia.
We'll see.
Right, 13 minutes after the hour.
The Democrats' lead ahead of the midterms is shrinking every week. Is the media's obsession with Russia to blame? Former White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer here with the discussion next. Good morning, Ari.
There he is.
As the media continues its obsession with Mueller's Russia investigation, the lead Democrats once had ahead of the midterms is dwindling, according to recent polling. A Washington Post ABC News poll saw the Democratic lead fall from 12% in January to 4% in April. So what is going on? Here to weigh in, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor Ari Fleischer. Ari, is it Russia, Russia, Russia?
Russia, Russia, Russia is going to be a problem for the Democrats unless Mueller's got the goods.
Right.
And if Mueller doesn't, the Democrats are the one-trick pony, and that pony ain't riding anymore. And that's what happens when you invest everything into scandal.
Well, ultimately, when, you know, the decision that people are going to have in November, it's like, okay, who did something for me? Was it the Republicans who did the tax cut, which the Democrats regard as crumbs, on the way to talking more about Russia, Russia, Russia?
And it's not only that, it's how well the economy is doing, the fact that we have 3.9% unemployment. The president is wise to keep banging on the fact that African-American and Hispanic unemployment's at an all-time low. He can actually make up some good numbers in with those demographic groups. But what's the most important number out there, the president's disapproval was at 58% in December, and now it's down to 52 this morning. If that number gets below 50, that is huge for Republicans running for re-election, because that takes a lot of the energy away from the Democrats who can't stand Donald Trump, and that's what drove a lot of the turnout for the Democrats in the special elections.
It will be interesting to see what sort of message the Democrats do coalesce around as you get a little closer, because right now it's a little uneven. But, you know, you look at the conventional wisdom. The smart men down and women in Washington were going, when Donald Trump talked about the tariffs and things like that, you can't do that. But it's the little guy, it's the forgotten American who's going, they're sitting on their couch right now going, damn right.
And you know what else? You know how you know that's true? Because while much of the press only quoted Republicans who opposed tariffs, they never quoted the many Democrats who supported tariffs, making it a bipartisan action that Trump did. Now, I've never been raised to believe in tariffs, but he's taking on China. Right. And that's the bigger picture that Donald Trump deserves credit for. But here's the problem the Democrats have with their message. Right now, outside of the Mueller investigation, the Democrats' only message is government-run health care, higher taxes, and Donald Trump committed treason. That's their policy platform. It's not a very strong one.
But there are some people who subscribe to that perfectly.
Some people do, and that'll be the liberal wing that pushes the party left in the 2019-2020 primaries. The only issue they have is energy against Donald Trump. It's the intensity of opposition.
Plus, you've got most of the mainstream media beating the drum.
Well, that helps the Democrats sometimes.
I think you knew about that. All right, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, it's being called a medical miracle. A teenager declared brain dead regains consciousness one day after his parents agreed to donate his organs. Unbelievable story, and it's coming up. Plus, he was just sworn in as the new U.S. ambassador to Germany, and today Rick Grenell is flying there to start his new job. But first, he's stopping by Fox and Friends. Come on, Mr. Ambassador, you're next.
Was officially sworn in as U.S. ambassador to Germany by Vice President Mike Pence on Thursday after facing months of opposition from Senate Democrats and then just waiting without any opposition, just not getting confirmation. He joined President Trump and German Chancellor Angela Merkel during her visit to the White House, and now he heads to Germany later today. So it's an exciting time for the country and, of course, for Rick. Here with us right now is the new ambassador to Germany, Rick Grenell. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Long time coming. You would not back out, and you were going to, it was hard for you. How many months were you just sitting there in the bullpen?
Since September. But, you know, I have to say that it's so much easier, and this is really kind of a Trump phenomenon. It's so much easier to deal with Washington when you're not in Washington, when you're not seeing political people at your church, at the grocery store, your kid's school, wherever. I think that pressure of being in that fake place, you know, this highly partisan place that's not really reality, that eats people up. But I live in Southern California, so I wasn't a part of that. And so I also saw the Donald Trump phenomenon from afar when they didn't. So I think that place clouds judgment pretty fast.
So you're sitting there, and you know you're the new ambassador. You're there, and you're watching the president work with Angela Merkel. So forget about conjecture and people's opinion. What was that relationship like? How did you notice President Trump in action?
I wish every American could see the way Donald Trump negotiates. I've waited a long time to work for a president who is focused on the American people. He is a great negotiator, and Angela Merkel realizes that. They had a great give and take. At the end of very tough negotiations, we have some difficult issues with Germany, but we're totally on the same side. I was telling the Vice President that if you've ever worked at the United Nations, if you've ever been around a multilateral setting of 193 countries, you quickly realize that the United States and Germany are on the same page. We have a lot of the same shared values: human rights, liberty, democracy. So right after this tough negotiation, you see the President of the United States take the Chancellor up to the personal residence, give her a tour she had never seen upstairs.
Lincoln bedroom and everything.
She saw the whole thing, and she had never seen it. It was quite phenomenal to see.
And you talked about, too, is you've done a great job. You've managed to be in NATO and not spend your 2%. You're doing great. Fantastic. So it was a fun way to do it. There were 127 other nominees without controversy, just waiting in the wing, because Democrats want to get their 30 hours in, and they want this administration playing shorthanded. How frustrating is it, and what's your message to the 127?
Look, we got to have a Senate that does its job, but quickly does its job. You got to get to a vote. All of these individuals deserve a vote. The president won. If you don't give someone a vote, you're really undermining democracy. He won. You got to get over it, and you got to give the president his nomination.
Well, you know what? The Republicans are in power. They should knock it down to 9 hours, like Langford talked about, and put these people forward. Next, Gina Haspel on Wednesday begins her nomination process. And we know for 32 years she's been in the CIA. We know that every active CIA director has backed her. And the president says the headwinds had her thinking about holding her own nomination on Wednesday. Here's what he just tweeted. My highly respected nominee for CIA Director Gina Haspel has come under fire because she was too tough on terrorists. Think of that. In these dangerous times, we have the most qualified person, a woman, who Democrats want out because she was too tough on terror. Win, Gina. How important is this nomination?
It is very important. This is about politics. This is nothing more than them trying to undermine this process and just take a scalp, so to speak. She is very qualified. She's risen up the ranks. The CIA, I was just out at the CIA. They're excited to have her. They want somebody. I walked the halls, and I saw the long photographs of all of the CIA directors. They're all the same person. They all are white males, and now we have a woman who is going to be able to look at the CIA in a very different way. This is something that the Democrats have told us that they celebrate. I'd like to see them give her a chance to get a vote and confirm her.
And I don't think they should run from enhanced interrogation. They were asked to do it at the time. They produced some results. Don't pretend like if you don't feel
the president's policy.
That's all. That's it. Now, on this Iran deal on May 12th, you're going to be right in Europe when this is happening, in Germany. You know the Germans want us to stay in it. France, Boris Johnson, I'm going to talk to him in an hour. He wants us to stay in it. What should we do?
Look, regardless of what you call it, the Iran deal needs to be fixed. It needs to be better. There needs to be different policies. So whether you call it fixing it or getting out of it, I'm going to leave it to the Washington folks who do this to figure out what we call it and where we go. But at the end of the day, Brian, we've all known that this deal is weak, that it's an unacceptable deal. We're not being able to go on military bases anytime, anywhere. That's a fundamental, because we know that the Iranians have lied and they've put programs on military bases in the past. I sat in the Security Council. The reason why there were sanctions on the Iranians is because we gave the evidence to the Security Council. The Russians and the Chinese back then said, yeah, they're lying. Let's put sanctions on them. We know we have a unified council when they look at the facts, like they've done in the past. So I think it's a very serious problem that we say we've got to get inspectors on military bases.
Because right now they're not.
We've got to get rid of the sunset clauses.
10 years.
There's a whole bunch of issues that can be fixed, and I think that the Europeans are on board to help with those fixes.
But Ambassador, if they need 2 months to get it ready, should the president be open to giving them 2 months?
Look, I haven't been looking at the intel. I'm going to leave it to the very able John Bolton to present the information to the President of the United States, and he'll make the decision.
I took 3 years of German. It's like my second language. So if you need any help getting used to the culture,
I got your cell phone.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, straight ahead. President Trump assembling a dream team to help America get into shape. And guess who made the roster? Dr. Oz, and he joins us live next, and that's him without a collared shirt. Plus, actress Alyssa Milano's going to an anti-gun rally, right? Surrounded by armed security. How does that happen?
It's your shot of the morning. Police officers busting a move at a high school prom.
Yep, the Boynton Beach Police Department in Florida acting as dates for students with special needs.
Oh, that is so sweet. The officers say that they wanted to give the teenagers a night that they would never forget.
And I think they did just that. Congratulations.
Oh, sweet.
Wow. All right, it is 25 minutes before the top of the hour, and Jillian joins us. This is where you do the news.
But I don't want to do the news right now.
Really?
What do you have to say about that?
Why would that be?
Because in light of it being Brian's birthday, I would rather take a look back at some of the really awkward tosses
Oh, no way.
from Brian.
Did you put them
Let's
together?
roll it. Yes.
Watch this.
When do we toss to Jillian?
Right now.
Oh, hey, Jillian.
Hi, Brian.
Does anyone know where Jillian is?
She's right next to you.
Are you the same Jillian that hosted the show at 5 a.m.?
I think so.
Really?
To come up with a good intro to Jillian, based on what you just said.
Based on what I just said. Here's somebody that never hides from the truth. Talk about someone who's ever been described as a loony from the left. Jillian. Jillian Mealy, not weird at all. Speak about somebody that never breaks the law as far as we know, Jillian Mealy. Talk about a pile of dough. Talk about a woman that's all about money. Jillian, you have the news.
I don't even know what to say to that one.
Talk about somebody that's scandal-free. Here's Jillian. Here's a woman who's not afraid to use analogies. Meanwhile, Jillian Mealy did not go to medical school. Speaking of standing up, that's why Jillian chooses to deliver the news.
Yep, because Brian said he won't let me sit. I know, so he makes me stand.
No chairs. Jillian, you're about to do the news. I have heavily redacted it. There's some things in there that are top secret.
Brian, I thought we talked about this.
Try to make it smooth. The president has not released his taxes yet, neither has Jillian. Jillian, when will you release? You have released your taxes?
Nobody asked me to.
Oh, okay. Would you please release them publicly?
Sure, I will do that right after I read the headlines, Brian.
You talk about elite and you talk about influence. That's you're talking Jillian, right? Of course. A woman, not a loser.
Thank you.
Right. Winner. You talk about working. Jillian's working. Jillian, you're from Everywhere America.
Everywhere America, yes.
You know what I think is crazy? That Jillian doesn't think like me, but I'm not going to judge her.
Nobody thinks like you.
Thank you. I think that might be a good thing.
This is not breaking news.
Wrap it up. Toss to Jillian. Toss to Jillian.
Jillian, take over with the where no one knows what to say to Brian.
And that's only about 5% of it.
That was.
I just love all of our reactions, right? No one even laughs. We're like, oh, another awkward toss. The last story could say, so-and-so is a murderer, and then he tosses to Jillian, someone who's not a murderer.
I love to have awkward tosses, and you like receiving them.
I do. I do. It's entertaining.
Right.
Keeps me on my toes.
I'm the awkward toss king.
You are.
Yes, thank you.
You have given that nickname to yourself.
Happy birthday.
ATK.
That was the best gift I could ever have. Seriously, that was fantastic.
Wait, so you don't want the bar and the stage in your house anymore?
Not anymore. I just want to.
That's all it took?
All I want is a montage to go home with of awkward tosses.
Hey, Gavin, who do we thank for that? Whoever, Megan.
Yeah, the Megan.
Of course.
Okay.
Megan edits. She's so phenomenal.
Well, I still have to do headlines, so would you like to?
Yeah. Here's a woman that's not afraid to accept an awkward toss.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brian. That is right. Now let's take a look at some of your headlines, starting with this. The Carnival Dream Cruise is back in port after a flooding nightmare at sea. A water main break causing gallons of water to pour into a hallway on the ship. About 50 rooms were affected by the flood. Some passengers say they ended up sleeping on yoga mats in the spa. Vacationers praising crew members who frantically scooped up water with buckets. Carnival offering a full refund and a discount on a future cruise. How about this? A teenage boy regains consciousness a day after his parents agree to donate his organs. 13-year-old Trenton McKinley fractured his skull in a dune buggy accident 2 months ago, leaving him brain dead for days. Right before doctors were about to take him off life support in Alabama, he came back to life. Before that moment, Trenton thought he was in heaven.
I was walking down. It was more like an open field, walking straight. There's no other explanation but God. There's no other way that I could have came back.
Isn't that incredible? Trenton's family says he's getting stronger every day. Liberal actress Alyssa Milano rallying against the NRA, but it turns out she wasn't alone. Milano, surrounded by armed guards at the Dallas anti-gun event. Take a look as they're confronted.
Alyssa, you're a hypocrite. But you are armed. You have armed security here.
Milano insists that her personal security was not armed, tweeting in part, quote, "This was event security, not my bodyguard." Sheriff's deputies go above and beyond the call of duty to help a 94-year-old woman get home safe. Department employees pulling over to help in Sarasota, Florida, when they spotted a transit worker escorting her as she crossed the road. Deputies were then called in for backup to pack up her walker and give her a ride home. And that is a look at your headlines.
All right. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
All right, thank you, Jillian.
We've been waiting all morning. All of us have been like 7:30. 7:30 they're doing it.
I know, it's great.
Meanwhile, Janice is on the streets with the folks.
Look at this. Look, what are you guys all here for?
Happy birthday, Brian!
Oh my gosh, they came to wish you a happy birthday, Brian Kilmeade. How wonderful is that? No awkward tosses at all when you introduce me. Not at all.
Never.
Let's take a look at the weather real quick. It is a beautiful day here in New York City for visiting 48th and 6th. 57 right now, 48 in Cleveland, 48 in Chicago. We have a slight system moving across the northern plains and the northern Rockies. Not a big deal. No severe weather to talk about. And then the system that brought incredible amounts of rain to the Kentucky Derby is moving out, which is excellent news. But man, did we have a mutter then in Kentucky. Phoenix, Arizona, here are your daytime highs today. We're going to break some records. And speaking of the Kentucky Derby, okay, exciting stuff. Of course, Justify won, and I got to interview both the jockey for Justify and the co-owner who is going to be coming up on Fox and Friends. His name is Saul Cumin. There is Mike Smith. Mike Smith was the winning jockey for the Kentucky Derby winner, Justify, and he doesn't do this very often. We were so privileged to do this. The last time he did an interview with a reporter was back in 2005, and his horse Giacomo won the Kentucky Derby. So I don't know about you guys, but I am thinking that I might be really good luck for horses in the Kentucky Derby. What do you say? Yeah. Yes. So we're going to have Saul coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Such a great time. And I'm thinking that I would like to wear hats every single day during the weather.
Well, you were wearing them on the red carpet at the Derby, and it looks like you had a lot of fun.
That's right, and shout out to Kid Rock, by the way. By the way, Steve Ducey, Kid Rock doesn't talk to a lot of folks. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. He kind of comes in, he does his red carpet, a lot of pictures, and he performed. But because I shouted out, "Hey, Steve Ducey's friend," he came over and talked with us, although he did say he thought I meant Peter Ducey.
Yeah, they're pals, too.
It still counts.
JD, thank you very much for the Foxcast.
Wave to Brian. Happy birthday, Brian.
Very nice.
Love you.
Great.
All right, thank you. President Trump is weighing in on the West Virginia Senate race. He just did this moments ago, tweeting it out. It's one of 4 states gearing up for big primaries tomorrow. Scott Rasmussen's going to tell us what to watch for next.
Plus, what else is in the last hour and a half of the show? We've got Dr. Oz, UK Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, and House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. It's Fox and Friends for Brian's birthday, 2018.
Well, the countdown is on until the polls open for primary races in 4 key states. Republicans in Indiana, West Virginia, Ohio, and South Carolina will pick their candidates for Congress tomorrow. And the stakes are pretty high. What should you, as a voter, look out for? Here to break it all down for us is editor-at-large for Ballotpedia, Scott Rasmussen.
And by the way, it's North Carolina tomorrow, not South Carolina. You're getting a little ahead of yourself.
I should know, right? I'm a Carolina girl.
Well, look, in the next 2 months, there's going to be 30 primaries, so a lot of activity.
All right, let's start in West Virginia, where we've got these 3 Republicans that are running to take Joe Manchin's seat in November.
Right. Joe Manchin, very popular, first elected in West Virginia 36 years ago. Back then, being a Democrat was a good thing in the state. Last year, Donald Trump won it by 42 points. That's why he's vulnerable. Evan Jenkins is seen as the most establishment candidate. Patrick Morrissey, a little more conservative. Don Blankenship is running, and he is the candidate that is scaring the Republicans the most. Blankenship spent some time in prison for a mine accident that killed 29 miners. Donald Trump just tweeted,
Yeah, I know.
don't vote for Blankenship.
But
because
he's, in some polls, he's up. Oh,
yes,
I'm
very,
touching. I'm
wow,
shaking. I didn't
look
mean
at
to do
that. But yes, you're right. In some polls, Blankenship is up. It's a primary. We don't know what's going to happen. What we do know is if Blankenship wins, Joe Manchin is going to breathe a sigh of relief and think he's going to be reelected.
Right.
Evans, Jenkins or Morrissey, either way, it's good news for the Republicans.
Okay. All right, Ohio.
In Ohio, look, we got a Senate race here. Jim Renacci has been endorsed by the president, but Mike Gibbons and Renacci are both supporting Trump, both big Trump supporters. I expect Renacci will win here. They're taking on Senator Brown. It's going to be a tough fight for the Republicans, but Ohio was won by Donald Trump by 8 points, biggest margin in 28 years. This is one of the stretches for the Republicans. If Renacci wins the primary and could pull off an upset in the general election, that would be huge news for the GOP.
What about the governor race there?
Well, the governor race gets a little different.
Because Kasich, term limited, he's going to be out.
And remember, Kasich is the never-Trumper of all never-Trumpers.
Yeah, he didn't even go to the convention in his own state.
Exactly. And Mike DeWine and Mary Taylor are running for the Republican nomination to replace him. And what do they have in common? They're both never Kasich. They are both all in for Donald. In fact, they're arguing about who's more of a Trump supporter. DeWine is favored. He's been in office for a long time in the state, held a number of posts. But either candidate, this is a Republican-leaning state right now, to be slightly favored.
What about between these two?
Cordray, you know, on the Democratic side is favored. You remember him most recently as channeling Elizabeth Warren as head of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. He is favored, and he is actually the most moderate Democrat in the race. This Ohio, because of both a competitive Senate and a governor's race, going to be a place to watch come November.
Sounds good. Indiana.
3 candidates running. Rokita and Messer went to Wabash College together. They didn't like each other then. They don't like each other now. They are bitterly fighting each other. And for a long time, we thought it was going to be one of them. Mike Braun, the businessman, has come in, spent $6 million of his own money. He's probably favored right now. Any one of the 3 will give Joe Donnelly a good race as long as the Republicans can get their act together and put the primary bitterness behind them.
Okay, let's go to the Carolinas.
Go to the
North
Carolinas. Now, you know, talking to a South Carolina girl about North Carolina is a little tough, but no big statewide primaries here. There's an awful lot of state legislative races in play. Republicans currently hold 10 House seats in the Carolinas out of 13. There's some redistricting going on, so the primaries, we'll see just how well they're going to be able to play defense. How many of these seats can they protect? One race that's of real interest to me, because I spent some time in Charlotte, Robert Pittenger is seeking re-election. He's doing a rematch of his primary fight from a couple of years ago, hoping he can hang on in that one. Mark Harris came within a couple hundred votes 2 years ago. Lots of things to watch, and 25 more of these in the coming months.
Oh, goodness. It's so fascinating. Here we go.
That's right.
Gear up, Scott. Thank you so much.
Thank
Great
you.
job. President Trump's deadline for the Iran deal is only 5 days away. It's coming up this Saturday, and we know he's not a fan.
They're marching in the streets saying death to America. I said, who signs a deal when they're marching saying death to America?
But UK Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson is meeting with the Vice President Mike Pence today to convince him to keep it. He's going to join us live in the next hour to explain why he feels that way. Plus, the president assembling a dream team to help America get into shape. And Dr. Oz made the cut. The doctor is in. Next.
President Trump has assembled a dream team to help get America into shape. The president naming Dr. Oz to the Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition.
Yep, the council, which will also feature Bill Belichick, Herschel Walker, motivates Americans to be more active and more healthy.
That's wonderful. Host of the Dr. Oz Show, Dr. Mehmet Oz, joins us now. Congratulations.
Congratulations on just winning an Emmy for the best show, too.
That was a lot of fun. But just before there, last time I was with you 10 days ago, I was literally getting on a plane to go to Italy, and I got to meet with the Pope. But this is a big deal because the Pope feels very strongly about the role of technology in medicine. And the Vatican has this council, which they apparently do whenever there are things in the zeitgeist that the Pope needs to comment on. And the big message to all of us was that we need to get everybody to be able to participate in all the huge advances. And there were superstars there who had their lives saved by stem cells and all kinds of remarkable advances, but most Americans still don't have access to the best new technologies, and we got to change that.
So from the Pope to the president.
And then you went in, you walk right in, and you win an Emmy right from there.
Literally off the plane. My hair was still messy.
So what are you going to do at the White House?
So I've been involved with kids in healthcare for 15 years. We started Health Corps, the Big Kids Foundation, that long ago. And I've been passionate about the fact that we see children as the weakness of our society when it comes to health, and they're not. Yeah. And when you actually look into it, we have programs at Health Corps, which I hope to be able to spread even more aggressively now that we have a platform, that have been proven to help young people lose weight, learn what to do, including getting the right kind of physical activity, eating the right foods. You think it's rocket science? It's not. No. And advertisers go after young people because they know they'll translate content to action, right? If I can teach you what to do, young people will do it. We're going the wrong direction a lot of times. That came up also, by the way, in the Vatican Enclave, because when we ignore children, when we let social media pull them apart from each other, when we don't realize that we're all like raindrops falling into the ocean of humanity, but that ocean is also in the raindrops. To be able to be open about these issues.
It's not just ceremonial, Dr. Oz. You're looking to do something with this council.
Well, I've been actively invested. I was involved in the prior administration as well. I think all of us who have the bully pulpit to speak about issues of health need to get the message out there. We are losing the battle with our children, and they're our future. They always will be. We cannot mortgage the future of this nation by not getting our young people in shape.
You have a show coming up about dirty tricks. You have whistleblowers that are telling us the dangers in our coffee. What is this about?
Well, this actually is not all coffee.
Airplane coffee.
Airplane coffee. And the reason it came up is because there are a bunch of reports on the water in the planes not being clean. Right. And you really shouldn't drink the water right out of the faucet in the plane. You probably know that. But the coffee you drink does come from that water. But we did our own little study. We're going to talk about it on the show this week. I'm not as worried as a lot of the other reports would have led me to be.
So airplane coffee is cleared for takeoff?
It's cleared for takeoff. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, pilot.
All right, we'll check our local listings. Congratulations, Dr. Oz. You're on a heck of a streak.
You're very kind.
That's awesome.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much, sir. Hey, 4 minutes before the top of the hour, Nancy Pelosi vows Democrats will take back the House in the midterms, and she wants to be Speaker again. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy here to react. He wants to be Speaker.
Yeah, they've got different plans. Plus, we've been telling you for a long time about liberal bias on college campuses, but now the numbers are jaw-dropping. Stick around.